welcome to the last lecture for 1060 Online. Today, we're going to finish up looking at the professional interview and thinking about how to apply all the kind of argumentative skills that you learned in this class and beyond to the interview. So, what's happening? When you are invited to an interview, this is when you should like the business on Facebook, LinkedIn, follow them on Twitter, right, to show that you're actively interested in the company. You should also check out what is called the Glassdoor for the interview index, and I'll just show you that briefly. So, the Glassdoor website is another great source like Monster or Indeed or others to find a job. However, the good thing about this is you could find out company and reviews, salaries, and interview questions that they ask. So let's just put in registered nurse, and there's not going to be too many coming up in our area, but let's get Raleigh back on here. And so what this does is it gives you a couple lists of where people found jobs, what kind of questions they asked on the interview. So good. So let's just look at here. And you see it has 2 reviews, right? And, of course, everything is being stupid because I'm on campus computer. So there we go. So if you scroll down and look at the reviews, right? So this is a job site too. But if you look at the reviews, right, it gives you, again, a few people who've worked there or who've interviewed there, and you can see a little mixed here. But again, salaries can be kind of low, right? Friendly environment. So it's interesting what people talk about, right, in terms of the company. If they, and I don't see any options for this, but a lot of times they'll give you questions about how the interview was. Alright, this is what I want. Sorry, my campus computer was way too slow today. So here is what I want you to look at, is they tell us a lot of good information about the process, right? So they said they applied online. The process took about 1 week, right? And then they interviewed at this facility. Applied midnight one night, got a cell phone call from the HR next morning. They're very quick to begin the hiring process. Very nice. Great job preparing me. They asked you a few questions, right? So what brought you to work in recruitment? Where do you see yourself further down the career? So very interesting in terms of like what kind of questions they'll ask on the job market, or excuse me, during the interview too. Look at it here, right? I was unable to negotiate. I also had been offered another job further away, which I mentioned, but I was told they could pay me only what was offered. This is like because there are not many requirements to become an associate. So again, you'll get a lot of good information from people who have actually interviewed with the company, right? And again, that's why really conduct your research. Okay, so they only gave us 1 question. But a lot of times with other jobs, they give you much more. So again, it's just really helpful to use this website just because, again, you could find out a lot of information about the interview process. So, which, again, Monster and Indeed don't typically do, or at least they haven't so far. They may change if Glassdoor gets popular enough. Remember that while on the interview, your look will be as important as what you say, and that's kind of the other argument, which is, again, why we are concerned with format. That's the whole purpose of paper format, to have the paper look the way it's supposed to. And it's the same thing with like a job interview, right? That's why you want to dress up nice, right? So the search committee expects you to, of course, stand up straight, sit up straight, smile, make eye contact, right? Dress nicely, be confident, right? You want to, again, look like a professional and act like a professional, even in your body language, right? So don't sit down to invite, or don't slouch, all sorts of things we do in regular conversation when we're comfortable. Avoid fidgeting, using slang or filler words, likes. Be careful of what you use. Same thing in writing. That's why I keep on, especially some of you, I keep on highlighting words that you repeat all the time, right? We do it in conversation too, and we got to be careful. And so you really want to pay attention to what you do, right? If you're a knee, if you talk with your hands, if you always have your leg bouncing, if you touch your chin or keep on stroking hair, right? So, all these habits we do sometimes without even knowing. And of course, turn off the cell phone, right? Make sure that you have that cell phone off, right? Now, All search committees are design questions and pull from a variety of psychological driven prompts meant to reveal three important things: personality, moral code, and then of course your work ethic. We already kind of know your work ethic based on your resume and based maybe on your cover letter, but what we're really interested in is your personality. Does it fit with the personalities of the group dynamic, right? That's what we're looking for when you're being interviewed. Most often you'll receive a mix of trick and straightforward questions, which is interesting. But again, that's the kind of game. This is a game, right? To see who you are. So don't be fooled and don't give in to kind of a lot of times what people are just kind of quick to respond. Take the time to answer. The best tactic is always to remain positive, even when the question asks for a negative answer. Right? You want to give a sincere, honest answer, but turn it into a positive, turn it into a learning moment or something. Most every employer is looking for energetic, optimistic, or constructive workers. So you have to balance sincerity with confidence, which is difficult. This is not easy, but again, the more you think about it, the more you research, what to do, the more experience you have, the more confident you will be. So let's just look at a few examples, right, and dissect several common questions and responses that people will have during personal interviews. They'll be very straightforward and very honest. So what did you dislike about your previous job, or if your current job, right? What do you dislike about your current job, right? So again, how do you answer this, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I hated everybody, right? And my coworkers were stupid, right? What you need to do is be diplomatic, right? Let's say you had a lot of trouble with your coworkers. Well, you can't just say they're stupid or they're lazy, right? That's insulting. Even if they are, it doesn't matter. What you want to do is, again, use your words, right? Draft it in a way that they wouldn't want to work with these people, right? So let's say that you had a group of coworkers who just did not keep on doing their job correctly, right? And so show them how many times you tried to help them out or you tried to teach them better and they just weren't listening, right? And so talk about their stubbornness, talk about their inability to again mature, but again frame it in a way that you don't sound like just a complaining jerk, right? Because that's the kind of key issue, and that's what they're looking for, right? They're trying to trap people who are just complainers, who are negative, right? And so they want you to see how you handle it. So the best way to respond to discuss issues that anyone would recognize as disruptive to the work environment, as I said. So lack of teamwork, right? Lack of meaningful work, lack of challenges. Something that, again, the people in the interview process do not want at their place of employment. And so that's the kind of key issue. So you want to be honest, right? You can't just be completely, lying like, oh, there's nothing wrong, because there's always going to be something wrong with the job, right? So you have to just look at how you could turn that into a positive learning experience, right? And again, there's a difference between, I keep on telling you in your essays, right? Difference between telling me and showing me, right? You don't want to tell me that they're jerks. You want to show me that they're not good workers and something like that, or your boss wasn't a good boss. You want to show me and not tell me. This is a very common question. What have you learned from your mistakes, right? Again, be sure to give an honest answer, but turn that mistake into a positive, right? So you could say something like, I think one of the most important things I've learned is persistence, right? Not to give up too soon, because when people work as a team, solutions can be reached. But again, you want to be specific and then give your specific answer, right? I've learned to give every person a second chance, right? Or I used to think there was only one best solution to a problem, but I've learned, very limiting. And then give us your examples, right? So be very specific. Again, same thing I keep telling you in your essays, in your supporting paragraphs, right? You want to go into that level of specificity, right? And again, this is, why you need writing classes, right? To think about how to articulate these very awkward situations, right? And make you look smart, right? Not just kind of, again, make you look like a complainer. So, computer there. Sometimes I really shouldn't work on campus computers. So, other traps, right? What problems have you encountered at work? Have you had difficulty working with a manager? Describe the scenario. Who was your worst boss and why? What was your biggest failure in your previous position, right? Why did you want to change jobs, or why do you want to change jobs? So again, these are all traps, right? And you'd be surprised. A lot of people who don't take the time to just think about the question at first, or what I would recommend, bringing a pad in, just writing the questions down, think about it for 30 seconds, because again, they want to see a thinking person. They don't want to see just some kind of person who just is quick to think and impulsive. And so think about how you would respond to these questions in a positive way, right? To be honest and say why you had a bad boss, right? But then to quickly turn it into what you tried to do to be a proactive person, right? And that's the kind of key issue here. So, the main purpose of these leading questions is to see how you might describe, obviously, your future employer, right? The people in the room. So, if you are too negative, right, current employers will assume that you will complain or cause issue, right? And that's the key issue. Most places of employment want to see team players, want to see people take proactive roles, want to see people, help other people and wish others to succeed, right? So this is kind of key, right? To think about how you could turn these negative aspects into a very positive situation. And it's difficult, but again, that's where you're being honest, but you also want to show how you matured as a person or how you became a better worker, right? Through the adversity or through the object that was in your way. Again, it's interviews are very frustrating because obviously much is at stake, right? They're very hopeful because you sent your resume, you sent your cover letter, they want you, right? They think you're a qualified person, and you feel good, right? But then, especially if people don't like talking in front of people, they get nervous. And much is at stake, right? Especially if you're desperate for a job or need one. The problem is, again, is trying to never take that rejection personally because usually, again, it's about personality. Right? You rarely get a sense of the personalities working within the company, so never assume that you aren't worthy of the job. A lot of times it's a simple, you're too blank, right? You may simply be too good, you may simply be too nice, you may simply be too blank, right, for the job. You never quite know, and that's why you're trying to do as much research as possible, but you never quite know the personalities, right? So again, be yourself, right? Nobody can take that away from you. That's kind of, an age-old, proverb there, right? And so that's the kind of key issue is when, again, this is why you really need to be thinking about how to craft a well-structured argument, right? Because these questions are very involved, and you don't want to just be impulsive, and you don't want to just talk about non-specifics, right? That's why, during this class, we really want to work on how to be as specific as possible, how to argue as clearly as possible, because again, it matters. On a job, you have to sound articulate, and the most articulate person is typically the one who gets the job. And again, that's the key issue is just trying to be as articulate, as eloquent as possible. And again, that's how you get the job. It starts with being able to be a good writer, good arguer, right? A good researcher, right? You have to know the field. And so again, that's why, with this, we do all the assignments we do in this class is to kind of prepare you for the job market, right? Obviously, if you have any questions, please ask, right? Again, it's a key issue, because this is the stuff that really matters, right? This is how you could apply everything that you've been learning to a very important, quest of making money, right? Doing and having a happy life, right? So obviously, if you have any questions, please email. If not, enjoy, again, the rest of the semester. Good luck finishing up all that you need to do. And, again, take care.